try imagining you are kneeling down in front of a girlfriend because she caught you cheating, and then she is really furious. She looks yandere when you look at her from bottom up. Hi and welcome back to the channel. Steven right here today with another scale figure review. Yeah, this is a direct continuation of this review of Disciplinary Committee Member, which I just published it a few days ago, right? Now we take a look at another Animester figure, which is a slightly older figure. I think this one came out a month or two before this Megane girl over here. I'll just put her aside, right? She is no longer relevant for the rest of this video. You are looking at Animester's 1/6 scale JK Bunny. This figure is 12 inches, 30 centimeters tall, including the bunny ears over here, 28 centimeters up to the head height, and the base thickness is about 5 or 6 millimeters. So this is a huge figure given the pricing, right? Once again, I'm going to bring in the same figures in my previous review for comparison in terms of size. Inori right here by Good Smile, this is tiny. Like, I have always had a grudge with this figure because of the size. And once again, Plum's Scarhawk at 1/7 scale. Yeah, see, this is so much bigger, right? The official international pricing of this figure would be 7,000 Japanese yen, but if you were to get her from China, like Bilibili shop in Taobao for example, this is only 249 Chinese yuan, which is roughly 5,300 Japanese yen only at the time of recording. According to myfigurecollection.net, this figure was out in China in just year 2024. It wasn't mentioned what month, but I believe this was already available in China sometime back in February. Yeah, quite a while ago. And for the rest of you who pre-ordered it from Japanese website, international market, the scheduled release date, at least according to myfigurecollection.net, is sometime in April 2024. So most of you do not own this figure yet, even though you have already pre-ordered it very early, right? Yeah, I always try my best to get Chinese stuff from China so that I have a head start over everyone else when it comes to reviewing these figures, right? Okay. And as for the price discrepancy, 7,000 yen internationally, in China 5,300 yen. Why is it that? I explained this in a couple of my previous figure review videos, but once again, for the sake of completeness of this figure review over here, let me explain it again. This is basically just regional pricing. For example, Netflix, YouTube, Premium, and so on. If you are subscribing these services, subscription services, from the United States, it is going to be more expensive than subscribing the very same service from Southeast Asia, for example. Because we Malaysians are poor AF, right? We are very poor. and I heard from one of you guys who commented in my videos saying that this is also a very common practice in the pharmaceutical industry. Right? Yeah, I have heard a lot of horror stories on how overpriced drugs are in the United States. Like, very common medicines, you guys pay a fortune for it. And the very same medications cost a lot cheaper overseas when they were exported. Now, moving back to this figure unboxing process, yeah, it was very simple. Just a very ordinary box over here, as you can see. Yeah, right? This box is a lot more flimsy than the other Animester figure I reviewed a few days ago. Maybe because this is a slightly older figure, like older by 1 month in release date, in production schedule. So, you know, as they make more new figures, they try to figure out how to improve the figure in terms of value proposition and even packaging quality. So newer and newer figures, maybe they'll get better, right? And as for the amount of parts in the box, once again, not as good as the other figure I reviewed few days ago, where you don't get much additional parts. You are only getting the main figure, a black plastic disc base, and an acrylic stand, a very small one over here. I think this acrylic stand is only about the size of an Android or even smaller than that, but it is better than nothing, right? So that disciplinary committee member is a hell lot better value, where you get 3 face plates, for example, but regardless of having less parts on this figure, I don't see this figure to be a bad purchase at all because I love the character design, right? Now, moving on to the sculpting of this figure. Now, if I were to compare this figure to the other Animester figure once again. I keep comparing the both of them because both of them came out around the same time, just 1 month gap in between. And comparison is important because it lets me know what is the consistency level of this figure brand. If one release is excellent, the other release is plagued with QC issues, then you know this brand is not very consistent. The good news over here is that this figure is not that far different from the other one I reviewed. There are virtually no flaws on this one even. No defects at all. Zero. Nothing at all, right? So I actually inspected this figure in detail. I was even using macro lenses to film this figure from many angles. Sculpting is once again 9 or 9.5 out of 10. The reason why she does not score higher than a 9 out of 10 is because this is not a very detailed figure, right? I mean, she is just wearing a half JK uniform of some kind, and the rest of the figure, yeah, very minimal dressing over here, like a lot of skin being showed. So this is not a very detailed figure when you look at the outfit in general. Now, the face of this figure, once again, the very same feature found in the other figure I reviewed a while ago. Yes, this is of course just an optical illusion. It is not like the eyes are actually moving. She looks yandere when you look at her from bottom up. I mean, try imagining you are kneeling down in front of a girlfriend because she caught you cheating, and then she is really furious. She is just minutes away from deciding whether to end you once and for all. Yeah, I mean, you look at her from bottom up like this. Yeah, it looks like she is mad at you in some way, and she is staring at you with a very yandere stare. It is a bit creepy in a way, but this is possibly the main feature, the main highlight of this figure. Now, moving on to the paintwork. Once again, virtually no flaws. Like, this is next level compared to any pop-up rate. I can't speak for Tenitol figures because I haven't bought one yet so far. I never owned one. But Tenitol figures are not that much bigger from pop-up rate. I think they are about the same size, right? So in a way, Tenitol and even the standard pop-up rates, they are not a fair comparison. I should be comparing something like this to pop-up rate L, which is about 7,400 to 8,000 yen or so, if I remembered correctly. But even so, pop-up rate L, they are 1/7 scale. Even though it is non-scale on paper, their size is around 23 to 24 centimeters. This is still quite a bit bigger in comparison. Seam lines and gaps, everything are very neat on this figure. I don't see any paint bleeding, scratches, or paint transfer. None of that sort at all on this figure, no matter where I look. Yeah, it is that good, right? In my previous figure review, I brought up the topic of materials. Did they cut corners in the materials? And surprisingly, they did not cut corners that much because they used soft silicone material for the chest region. This JK Bunny, yeah, her oppai is also squishy, just like this other figure over here. Yeah, you can squeeze it if that is that kind of thing you like. For me, it doesn't matter at all, not important. But there is also the topic of paintwork, which I did not bring up in the review of this other figure over here. Did they cut corners in the paint department? Surprisingly, I don't think they did, right? I mean, if you bring in a price figure, yeah, any price figure for the matter, doesn't matter which brand, when you gently touch the surface of the figure, it feels a bit rough. Like, it is not as smooth as those expensive scale figures that cost 5 digits in Japanese yen, right? It is a bit rougher because they don't apply clear protective coating on the paintwork. The paintwork is exposed, right? However, when I gently touch this figure, right, on every surface, her hair, her sleeves over here, it is very smooth. It is smooth touching, it is not rough at all, very well finished. So I do think they actually applied a clear coating, protective coating on the figure, which means they did not cut as much corners as you might think, which is once again great news for something this budget pricing, right? My speculation over here, the kind of corner cutting is that, for example, Japanese brands, they use their Japanese paints, for example, Mr. Hobby paint, Tamiya paint, which are not cheap by the way. So when it comes to the clear coating, they also use those by Mr. Hobby, right? Yeah. However, what the Chinese brands are doing, probably they are using their own homegrown, their own Chinese brand paint and clear coating, which is possibly a lot cheaper. That is purely my own speculation, but I believe this is exactly where they are cutting corners in a very good way, right? It is like you can't perceive the corners are being cut, yet They find ways to make the figure feel good and yet priced cheaply at the same time. Yeah. Lastly, speaking of the base of this figure, once again you are getting a pair of metal foot pegs and the fitting is just nice, neither too loose nor too tight. If I were to pull the figure out from the base, I don't feel like I will accidentally break the foot pegs at all, right? Unfortunately, yes, the base is a bit too plain looking over here, just a black plastic disc. However, this shouldn't be a problem for anyone buying this figure. Like, it is not important, right? I think the fact that this figure base is so small and so tiny is a good thing. The figure won't take up too much space on a display shelf. And overall, as a conclusion for today's figure review, this figure comes as highly recommended. Once again, just like the other Animester figure a few days ago, both are great purchases. Go and buy both. So if you found this figure review to be helpful or informative, please give this video a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for anime figure content every week. Until then, I'll see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.